We've recently had a lot of questions about what tortoises do when it gets very hot. Well, the answer to that is that in the wild, no one comes along and gives them soaks or drinks or anything like that. They are very well equipped to take care of themselves, and they have certain behaviours that are highly effective at keeping them to safe temperatures. Now, what are safe temperatures? Well, surprisingly, when we look at most of the arid habitat species, whether that is the Testudo species, some of the South African species, or species such as sulcata in West Africa, the cut-off temperatures, their activity temperatures, are actually quite similar. Now, most species will be very active in the range of 25 up to about 28 degrees Celsius. As it gets to around 30 degrees Celsius, generally speaking, the activity will cease and reduce, and they will go looking for shade. Beyond about 32 Celsius, they can actually start to get quite stressed and will definitely be looking to get out of the heat, because by 34 or 35 degrees Celsius, they're actually dangerously hot and they could fatally overheat. Some of the signs that they're doing that will be salivation, bubbling, and very, very jerky, fast movements as they try to get out of the heat. So these are signs to be aware of and look for. You should certainly never leave a tortoise outdoors fully exposed to sun when it's hot, and there's absolutely nowhere for them to escape to, because fatal overheating can occur quite quickly if that happens, particularly if, for example, in their panic, they get onto their backs, and that's a real problem. If they're on their backs in very hot sun, they can overheat within a matter of minutes. So those are things to be aware of. So what do they do in the wild when there's no water? It can be weeks between rains. They don't have water holes they can get to. What they actually do is very clever. They bury themselves down into the substrate. Now, this does not have to be damp substrate or moist substrate. Even very dry substrate will do it, because that prevents the high winds blowing across them, which actually is a big cause of evaporative losses from the skin. Tortoises have very, very good skin in terms of keeping fluid in, but even so, if they are out in the sun, they're exposed to winds blowing across, then that definitely increases evaporative losses, and every little bit helps that you can save. So they have developed techniques where what they will do is bury down, not entirely, sometimes leaving just the top of the shell showing. It really doesn't have to be very deep at all for it to be extremely effective. Often only 50 millimeters or 2 inches is enough to make a substantial difference to the tortoise's core temperature. The surface temperature is very much higher than the temperature just beneath the surface. And thermoregulation means what it says. It's not just about acquiring heat, but it's also how they lose heat. And they do that through a number of different strategies. Certainly, burrows are one. So some species such as sulcata, for example, go down burrows. And the main reason they use burrows, it's not this thing about humidity. It's primarily to keep themselves within safe temperatures, because when you have air temperatures of 45 degrees Celsius outside and surface temperatures of 65 to 70 Celsius, even a large tortoise like a sulcata can overheat quite quickly. So the use of burrows allows them to get out of the sun, so they're not getting radiant heat on them, and it allows them to get into a slightly cooler microclimate beneath the surface where they can lose further heat. And they do that mainly through the plastron. So by connecting themselves, thermally connecting themselves, close contact with a cooler substrate, they lose body heat in that direction. So when we think of thermoregulation, it's a bimodal thing. It's not only acquiring, but also losing heat. And tortoises and other reptiles are really, really good at this. In the case that we're looking at here, this tortoise, the surface temperature on the carapace was over 32 2 degrees Celsius. But right beneath the tortoise, and we planted a sensitive thermometer probe there, was 27. So that's quite a big difference, and it allows that animal to cool its core temperature down, and it is the core temperature which is critical in terms of maintaining a safe metabolism and avoiding overheating. So that's how they do it. They use the environment. They are incredibly well geared and sensitive to small differences in this environment, and they know how to use it. So the way that reptiles in general operate is like that, and so any reptile species that come from arid habitat, some of the arid habitat lizards, the snakes, they all use the same techniques. For one reason: it works.